Good evening, everyone. Welcome to California Today. I'm David Zhang. Here is a look at some of today's top stories. The suspect involved in the fatal bar shooting has been identified. The incident took the lives of 3 people. An alleged shooting turned kidnapping resulted in the death of a teen from Southern California. A suspect has been arrested. Several organized burglaries targeting retail stores in Los Angeles County. Find out why the critics of the local district attorney say a policy is contributing to this trend. Tragedy at a well-known Orange County bar. A gunman took the lives of 3 and injured 6 others. The suspect was killed by police. NTD's Christina Corona tells us more.
A tragic shooting took place inside a popular biker bar here in Orange County, taking the lives of 3 and leaving the community in mourning. 3 people have been killed and several others wounded in a shooting Wednesday evening at Cook's Corner Bar in Trabuco Canyon. Footage posted on the Citizens app shows officials on scene. The shooting occurred shortly after 7 p.m. The Orange County Sheriff's Department took immediate action, with deputies arriving at the scene within minutes of the report.
I did about 7:04 p.m. Deputies responded to multiple 911 calls of shots being fired at Cook's Corner. The caller stated that the male fired 6 shots. About 2 minutes later, at 7:06 p.m., deputies arrived on scene and dispatch could hear gunshots in the background. At 7:08 p.m., deputies then confronted a male subject that was armed with a gun.
A deputy-involved shooting occurred, which involved multiple deputies.
At this point, the man believed to be involved in the shooting is deceased at the scene. At least 1 weapon has been recovered at the scene, and we have been made aware that the suspect may be retired law enforcement.
The suspect has been identified as 59-year-old John Snowling, a former Ventura Police Department officer who was employed by that agency from July 1986 and retired as a sergeant in February 2014. 4 people, including the suspect, were pronounced dead at the scene. According to Cook's Corner Bar's Instagram, the shooting took place on their $8 spaghetti night. According to the Orange County Sheriff's Department, 5 people were hospitalized with gunshot wounds and 2 are in critical condition. Among the surviving victims was the suspect's ex-wife who was shot in the facial area. Christina Corona, NTD News, Orange County.
Tragedy unfolds after the kidnapping of 19-year-old Andrea Vasquez, a suspect apprehended for the kidnapping and murder. NTD's Stephanie Sikal hears more from the Whittier Police Department.
The Whittier community is shaken by a random act of violence as 19-year-old Andrea Vasquez was believed abducted after a shooting that took place at this park. She was later found dead. Police say they caught a man who they believe kidnapped and shot a young woman at Penn Park in Whittier over the weekend. According to the Tuesday announcement, the Whittier Police Department arrested 20-year-old Gabriel Esparza, who lives in Whittier, on Monday afternoon. Police suspect he killed and kidnapped 19-year-old Andrea Vasquez. Police are keeping him in custody and without bail. They also found a weapon they think he used in his truck, a 2013 white Toyota Tacoma.
Just after midnight, we received a call of a shooting and a kidnapping that occurred at Penn Park, which is just down the street here from the police station. Our officers responded, at which time we discovered that a male witness was stating that his female companion had been shot by an unknown subject and taken from the vehicle and taken out of the area. This essentially launched a multi-day investigation where our detectives responded, patrol responded, and we received a lot of help from a lot of different agencies to try and find the missing girl, which was identified as 19-year-old Andrea Vasquez.
A spokesperson from the Whittier Police Department, Officer Thomas Matson, shared more details on this ongoing investigation.
From there, through several investigative means, we were able to identify that she was last in the area of Moreno Valley. And on 8/21 of 2023, Esparza was arrested. He was taken here to our Whittier Police Department jail, where he was charged with homicide and kidnapping.
Information can be provided anonymously to the Whittier Police Department crime tip line at 562-567-9299. To cover funeral expenses, the Vasquez family has established a GoFundMe campaign. www.gofundme.com/F/Andrea-Vasquez-family. Esparza was arrested while working at this Pet Boy store in Lakewood. This case will be presented to Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for assessment. Stephanie Sikal, NTD News, Los Angeles.
Flash mob robberies targeting large retail stores in Los Angeles. This is where a group of thieves grab as many items as possible, often exceeding $100,000 in value. But a county-wide policy is being criticized as a contributing factor to this trend. NTD's Jack Bradley has more.
Several organized burglaries at luxury outlets in Los Angeles County have resulted in the theft of hundreds of thousands of dollars in merchandise over the past few weeks. Some of these suspects are repeat offenders who were released from custody due to LA's zero cash bail policy. I spoke with former LA District Attorney Steve Cooley to break it down.
The zero bail policy, in many instances, lets out criminals with a mere citation. They never even get processed completely. And they then are out and about and able to recommit their crimes. Almost 15 to 20% of all those who are released on zero bail, instead of being on bail, commit a crime again. That's called recidivism. Bail is in the Constitution of the United States of America. Its purposes are well established. Basically, under the Penal Code, bail is set to assure the future appearance of a charged criminal. If you don't have bail, many criminals will either recidivate, commit a new crime, or they just won't appear in the future because they have no incentive.
Do you think that criminals know about these policies?
Oh, yes. These criminals, they have a network. They're smart people. They talk back and forth even when they're incarcerated. One of them, as you probably recall, was videotaped giving a toast to George Gascon because he thought his sentence was going to be greatly reduced. Others talk about it, how Gascon's policies are going to help them. They talk about it on the jail phones that are recorded. One individual said he was going to tattoo Gascon's name on his forehead because of the benefits Gascon is giving him as a criminal. 97% of his own prosecutors voted to support his recall.
And I also spoke with Tim Lineberger, the spokesman for the campaign to recall District Attorney George Gascon, which is suing the county registrar to certify the recall petition, saying that many of the rejected signatures were valid. He says it's policies like zero bail that led to the recall attempt.
What they'll tell you is you shouldn't criminalize poverty. And I think everybody agrees with that general point. But the bigger point is you need to have a threat assessment of the individual. So cash bail, no cash bail, like all of George Gascon's policies, it's a one-size-fits-all policy. It doesn't take into account the danger of the individual. It doesn't take account their likelihood to reoffend, like the individuals that you covered in your news story recently that were released the day after they committed a smash and grab robbery on the same day that a smash and grab robbery task force was announced, right? So no cash bail, again, it's just another little piece of the system that tells people, hey, if I do it, I'm just out immediately. And it doesn't take into account the individual cases and potential threat assessments that apply in those circumstances. There is reason for hope. If you saw what happened in San Francisco, those policies were rejected by some of the most liberal and progressive voters in America. I truly believe that crime and public safety are nonpartisan issues. In Los Angeles, we had over half of our signers on the petition to recall George Gascon were Democrats. Over half of our donors and the donations that came in were from Democrats as well. In a very polarized political society that we live in right now, possibly the one issue that is uniting people is crime and their desire to be safe in their community. So hopefully that will continue to reverberate and you'll see change as more elections play out.
And we reached out to the LA District Attorney's and County Registrar's offices, but didn't hear back by the airing of this segment.
We'll now take a short break, everyone, but here's what we have for you when we come right back. A family nurse shares some health tips for students as they return to classrooms for the new school year. She covers everything from weather to mental health concerns. A church covered in tarps and seemingly abandoned. San Jose's mayor now plans to fine the owner, citing safety and cleanliness concerns. A happy ending for a pair of sea lions. They have been released back into the wild after being treated for algae bloom poisoning. Those stories and more coming up on California Today. Welcome back to California Today, everybody. I'm your host, David Zhang. As more and more kids head back to school in California, worries over crisis, weather emergencies, medical complications, and bullying can be top of mind for both parents and students. A family nurse practitioner shares some tips on how to get the school year started right. Heat-related injuries are a real concern for students heading back to school. Most of the Central Valley still has daily temperatures in the high 90s. Dr. Marie Dao-Ceballos shares some tips for parents.
You can encourage them to drink Gatorade. Gatorade has a lot of extra electrolytes that'll help the body as the kids are sweating and in the extreme heat conditions. You can also get these little electrolyte packets that you could pour into the water bottles and just mix. It's a great source of electrolytes as well with the Gatorade.
Then don't forget to apply sunscreen protection to avoid sunburns.
The important thing about the SPF is apply during the day. They need to at least have this on for 15 to 30 minutes, and then they can go in the water or into the heat. But the important thing is we want it at least 30 SPF or greater, and then some of them will say that they are UVA or UVB, and those are the best to put on for our kids.
Loose clothing with the breathable materials along with hats are essential in preventing excessive body water loss. As to warning signs of heat exhaustion to watch out for,
what you look for is the child that starts to say, oh, I don't feel good. I might feel very nauseated. I might feel like I'm going to throw up. Or you look for the child that says, oh, my legs hurt, like muscle cramps or spasms. That's when you start to become very concerned.
Statistically, heat is deadlier than any other weather hazard, and Californians can visit heatreadyca.com for resources and information for people of all age groups. In addition, stress from natural disasters, active shooters, and bullying frequently lead to anxiety about schools. Dr. Dao-Ceballos wants parents to pay attention to their children's mental health.
I would say really build that safe place with your children so that they can, a safe place for them to come talk to you and say, hey, this is what happened to me today. Keep that communication open. Make sure parents are checking in with their kids. How was your day today? Tell me what happened.
Johns Hopkins Children's Center also has additional information on how to ease the back-to-school anxiety. A church covered in tarp and plastic. Local leaders want to fix up the abandoned building in Silicon Valley and increase fines. But they say the international property owner has been negligent. NTD's David Lamb reports.
I'm in downtown San Jose, and this building behind me has been vacant since 1975. It used to be a church, but now covered in tarp. The city wants to increase fines for the land developer because they've been negligent in taking care of the property.
Local leaders say the dilapidated building is an eyesore and takes away from plans for a safe and clean community.
Those responsible for this neglected and frankly dangerous building are not doing their part.
In front of the First Church of Christ Scientist, city leaders want to increase fines to $500,000 for those neglecting landmarks. San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan says they're charging property owner Z&L Properties $1,000 per day, adding that the company hasn't paid any of the fines yet. The maximum fine is currently capped at $100,000.
And the reality is it will cost over $200,000 to take down the scaffolding, the plastic, and clean up the site.
It's an eyesore. I mean, we want to be proud of our downtown. We want to showcase this is one of our landmark buildings.
The cultural landmark was built in 1905 with many owners over the years. But without a new owner stepping forward, leaders aren't hopeful about its future.
I think along with the property owners in China, they moved to the United States with a lot of zeal, with a lot of ambition. They share the love that we have for the city of San Jose, especially downtown. So I appreciate that. But they can't just leave our landmark building behind once they're in financial troubles. That's not how you do business.
According to the DOJ, the Chinese national real estate developer Zhang Li controls Z&L Properties and was arrested in the UK. The company bought the property in 2017.
Unfortunately, 6 years have passed and we are left with nothing but a blighted eyesore owned by a billionaire developer who has been involved in scandal, including admissions of bribery and recent house arrest.
We need to incentivize you to do the right thing, and if necessary, we need to try to incentivize you to sell the property to someone who's going to better maintain it.
In San Jose, California, David Lamb, NTD News.
LAPD is amping up community defense by organizing an event to educate residents on preventing catalytic converter theft. Christina Corona has more from Los Angeles.
Revving up community protection, the LAPD is putting the brakes on catalytic converter thefts by offering a VIN etching event, helping residents put their vehicles in the driver's seat of security.
The Los Angeles Police Department organized a free VIN etching and marking event sponsored by AAA at Dodger Stadium Wednesday. The goal is to assist the community in safeguarding their vehicles' catalytic converters against theft. LAPD Detective Michael Ventura says it's a quick process.
This is one of our monthly events. We hold a monthly VIN etching and marking event. What's important for us is that we actually come into the community. We don't have them come to the station. The first one is that we provide VIN etching where we put all 16 digits onto your catalytic converter. You can probably hear that behind me. After the 16 unique numbers are etched onto your catalytic, we also spray paint with high temperature paint and we mark it.
With the catalytic converter being visually emblazoned, it should deter thieves from stealing.
Whether you're a recycler or you're a crook that's driving around and you've got this cat, you're going to have a tough time having to explain, I just found it, I didn't know it was stolen. So we want to mark them. We also want to provide a tracking number.
Ventura tells us catalytic converter theft is not just a property crime and has actually escalated into crimes of violence.
So unfortunately, we've seen cat thefts due to the money involved. They've actually escalated to robberies, brandishing of firearms. We've even had people shot over catalytic converters.
He tells us crooks have become more emboldened and that the thefts happen not only at night, but now in the daytime. And ways to educate the community about being a victim of catalytic converter theft.
So we want people to invest either in a good alarm, something with a motion sensor that will activate when your car is the victim of a catalytic converter. It'll at least draw attention. If you can provide some kind of a barrier. So we have different kinds of catalytic converter shields, something that will prevent it from being cut off. And if you have a truck or an SUV, you can put a cable cage. It makes it difficult for them to cut off.
September 22nd is the date to steer towards safety as LAPD will host another VIN etching and marking event at Griffith Park. Christina Corona, NTD News, Los Angeles.
A happy ending for a pair of sea lions. They have been sickened by a toxic algae bloom, but were released back into the ocean after their treatment and recovery. NTD's Stephanie Seacall brings us more.
The sea lion pair named Sophie and Gracie are among the lucky ones that now swim free after the Marine Mammal Care Center helped them recover from a toxic algal bloom poisoning. Located in San Pedro, the center helps many sea creatures, including sea lions and dolphins, that become sick from the widespread of toxic algal blooms during the summer.
And we went through 150,000 pounds of food just in the first 6 months of the year. That was the budget we had for the entire year. We feed all the animals and the type of animals that are very hungry animals when they wake up from their initial lethargic state that they come in at, are ferocious appetites.
This toxic bloom produces a substance called domoic acid, which affects the brains of marine animals, leaving them confused, tired, or aggressive. Sea lions are particularly vulnerable because they eat shellfish, which eat the toxic algae. The care center staff and volunteers worked hard to bring the sick animals in for treatment. Marine Mammal Care Center CEO John Warner says community support and donations are important for their facility.
The community stepped up. We've been just really blessed and thankful to all of the folks who have donated through hearing it in the media, hearing about it on the beaches.
People who had gathered on Wednesday morning cheered in excitement as they watched Sophie and Gracie return to the ocean.
Great example of how everyone came together during a crisis where we had a lot of these seals washing up on shore that had been exposed to toxic elements in the ocean. They were a danger to humans. They were very unhealthy, but we all came together.
For more information on how to volunteer or contribute to the ongoing care of these amazing creatures, visit marinemammalcare.org.
Now let's check in with NTD's Tyler Castillo for our sports roundup.
We got a lot of sports to cover today, David. I'm Tyler Castillo, taking you through California Today's Sports Roundup. According to National Insider Ian Rappaport, it appears that the order for the 49ers quarterbacks is as follows, with Brock Purdy being starter and Sam Darnold being backup. That's right, that leaves former third overall pick Trey Lance, who lost the starting role last year and now lost the backup role this year. The team is reportedly exploring options with Trey Lance. If you go back in time, you will remember that the 49ers traded 4 draft picks to move up in the draft order and select Lance. They made the trade with the Dolphins, and the Dolphins used those picks to bolster up their team by selecting Jalen Waddle with the Niners' original pick, and then traded the other picks to get players such as Tyreek Hill. If you're a 49ers fan, this can lead to an endless what-if scenario if the Niners didn't trade up. The last practice for preseason was Wednesday, concluding that Trey Lance did not participate as head coach Kyle Shanahan told Trey the news and to take the rest of the day off. We will keep up with this story and we will see what the future holds for Trey Lance. And that was all the sports for today. I'm Tyler Castillo. Back to you, David.
Thanks, Tyler. All right, everyone, that's all we've got for you tonight. We would like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts at ntd.com/California-today. You will find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Gunman World, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. If you'd like to share a news tip or let us know how we're doing, we'd love to hear from you. I'm David Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.